Welcome to Sivako, Road to Avatar. My name is Shaun Alexander, and I'll be your guide to the world of Pandora and beyond. To support this show, head on over to www.patreon.com/avatarpod, where you can become a patron and gain access to exclusive content. Joining me today on this special episode, I have a very special guest. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Connor, and I'm one of the hosts of the No Highway Option podcast.
And it's a pleasure to have you on today. And it's for a it's an exciting topic. I'm looking forward to talking about this one, but also I'm curious what people are going to think of it along the way.
Yeah, it's definitely something that'll get a lot of engagement because everyone will have their own ideas.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Fingers
um,
crossed.
yeah, but before that, we're gonna go through a couple of little Avatar questions. The first of which is, when did you first see Avatar?
The original Avatar, I think I first saw it in 2010. I saw it on demand when I was homesick from school. So, not exactly the ideal time and place to see it.
I mean, this is the thing. I feel like people make such a big deal out of the fact that you're meant to see it in the cinema, but I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate that it still works really, really good at home.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, when I first saw it, uh, I was in high school at the time, and I was very like cynically like, oh, it's just Pocahontas with blue guys. Like, I wasn't that into it. And then when Way of Water came out, I saw it in IMAX 3D, and I was like, oh, I get this now. I understand this whole franchise. I'm all in. I love this. So like, it's interesting how much that experience can really change it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like that reevaluation as well, because I went through a similar thing where when I first saw it, obviously I was like 17, 18 at the time. And I feel like my worldview was so much different than what it is now. So I like look at this movie in an entirely different way.
Right. It was a much simpler time, and like it was it was just it's crazy to see how much everything has changed, and there have only been 2 movies so far.
Yeah, and I feel like as well, when you're a teenager, you're like extra cynical about
Oh,
anything, but it's like
absolutely.
especially like a film like this where it's really earnest. Like it's not trying to be like, it doesn't make fun of itself, being like,
Right.
"Oh, look at this stupid thing we just did."
And that's the part of it that I really love, like, especially walking out of Way of Water, talking to it with my friends, I was like, it was sincere. Like, they knew what they wanted to do, and they really gripped onto it. There was, yeah, never a wink at the camera like, "Ugh, we're the blue guys."
And I think look, I don't like to blame Marvel every single time. Uh,
It's a lot of Marvel.
it's a lot of Marvel. I'm so sorry, but it is
I
because that's the humor that's kind of like grown since the MCU started.
I mean, you don't have to blame Marvel as a whole conglomerate. You can pin it down to just blaming Robert Downey Jr. himself, but I don't know if you wanna do that or not.
I mean, it's hard. uh, I say that, but then I think the tipping point for me was the first Ant Man, where it became
Okay.
like the fact that he was joking, like he was like, "Oh yeah, oh my name's Ant Man. Oh, that's such a dumb name."
Yeah, why don't we call the Avengers, like, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe where the tipping point might have been.
Okay.
Well, for me at least. I feel like
Right.
everyone else has got their own tipping point.
Yeah.
So yeah, have you got a favorite moment from either of the Avatar films?
Oh, from either of them. I think my favorite moment would have to be in Way of Water. Just just the moment where the whole movie kind of chills out and it lets you explore the new tribe's land, and you're going around with Sigourney Weaver's character. I completely forget her name right now.
Kiri.
Kiri, thank you. When you're just swimming around with Kiri and she's like enjoying the sights, and again seeing that IMAX 3D high frame rate, all that nonsense, I was just like, wow, this is like a tourism ad, but like I'm it's relaxing. Like, I've been hyped up on this movie. I've been so, like, anxious during so many of the action scenes and, like, really closing in on it, and then it's just a good moment to sit back and relax and just get your bearings before the rest of it.
Yeah, and you need it because it is like it goes full ham in that last
It
hour as
really
well.
does. And it does James Cameron does another flooding action scene, and you're like, "Yeah, I mean, write what you know, I guess."
I mean, who can blame him? He's clearly the master at sinking ships.
He really is.
And you're right. I think that moment is really important. That sort of serenity, that sort of like, let's just live in this world for a little bit because it helps us like connect with those characters. And it
Mhm.
means that now we actually care about the stakes in that final third.
Right. Oh, also, and to completely go off of the relaxing, serene part, the part where Payakan cuts off a guy's hand. I
Hell yeah.
cheered. I cheered for that.
I genuinely like fist pumped in the air,
Yeah.
like it
Oh, me
during like
too.
a press screening. So like there was like people like there reviewing, and I was like, yeah, get in there, Pike.
It's amazing.
It's so good, like so satisfying. And I there was like audible gasps in the cinema when that moment happened.
It's so great to see that and like to hear people actually reacting to a movie instead of letting it wash over them.
Yeah, this is it. Like, and also it being a reaction to an actual thing in the movie that's happening, not just a, ooh, I know that thing.
Right.
Um, so yeah, we're going to go on to a very exciting topic today, which is yeah, I mean we're kind of now at the end of the Avatar: Way of Water cinema cycle,
Mhm.
as it's about to move into becoming a home release. You'll be able to rent it on and purchase it digitally, and yeah, I thought now would be a good time for us to talk about what do we want moving forward within the world of Avatar. And today's topic is that we're going to do a little bit of fan casting and choose a few actors we'd love to see in Avatar moving forward. So, Connor, would you like to start us off first? Who have you got as your first actor you would love to see in Avatar?
Sure. My first actor that I would love to see in an Avatar sequel, including this just came out as a rumor of the apparent 9-hour miniseries for Disney Plus cut of Avatar 3.
Man, if so this is
Uh,
obviously very big rumors, and if this
yeah.
happens, I'm set for life. 9
Yeah, right.
hours? Like what a
Never ending content.
exactly. I might have to like double up on how much I do of this podcast if that happens.
Right. But for the first actor for that, this is someone who is actually heavily rumored for The Way of Water, and it relates into my show that I do where we compare movies to The Pacifier. But I would genuinely love to see Vin Diesel somewhere in the Avatar world, preferably as like a Navi chief of some kind.
Hmm. You know what? I
Um,
I put him down on my list as well, but I knew you would choose him, so I was
yeah,
like, I don't even need
I
to mention it.
yeah, I was like, I have to. It's the thing. But he was so heavily rumored for Way of Water, like he was visiting the set and people assumed he was in it. I didn't realize he wasn't in it until we walked out of the first screening of it and I was like, where was our guy? Like there was a bald man, but that wasn't him, was it?"
Yeah,
And
it was definitely like one of those things that I remember people talking about it so much before the film coming out, being like, "Oh yeah, Vin Diesel's on it. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?"
right. And I just like we were saying earlier with the sincerity of the franchise, Vin's just like that's his thing. Like when he does the Fast and Furious stuff, when he's promoting it, when he's like talking about making it, you can tell he's really sincere about it and he always wants to do like the best full-hearted thing he can. And like it doesn't always work, but I think that's a good fit.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You kind of need to like find actors who really love the work they do, and Vin
Mhm.
Diesel is one of those people. Not everything's a hit, as you said. There are some
Yeah,
right duds, but he puts his all into it every time, which is
yeah.
not what you could say for a lot of other actors.
Yeah, he really I mean, you can see he's trying to make Fate of the Furious watchable, but it's Fate of the Furious.
And also, it's kind of nice as well if Vin Diesel does join the Avatar franchise because Michelle Rodriguez was in the first one as well. So it's sort
Right.
of like a nice passing of the torch within the Fast family.
Exactly. A new member of the family joins every odd numbered movie, I guess.
Yeah. So by the time we get to Avatar 5, we'll need to pick out another one.
Oh boy,
And
yeah.
I I so if I'm doing like a who I definitely don't want to see in it, I don't want to see Dwayne in it. I'm sorry.
No, I completely agree with you. You were saying members of the family to join next, and my mind went Tyrese. Tyrese needs to be there somehow.
Oh, incredible. Yes. That'd be so good. I love that. Yeah, so you said you kind of see him as like a Navi chief, and I think I agree on that. I think it's a nice role for him,
Yeah,
and
I
you get that family connection too.
exactly. The family aspect of it, like he'd do well in a position of power because he's a very imposing guy, but I don't want to see him as a villain, as like the uh earth people, sky people, whatever. Um and I know the rumor is like, oh, there's going to be evil Navi in the third one, but like I want him to be just like good-hearted, ready to fight for his family, ready to fight for his tribe. And yeah, like I don't know, just something that would fit Vin Diesel almost. I don't want to say a Dom Toretto Navi, but like a similar type of person.
Yeah, no, I totally see it, and I think, yeah, like if anyone was to get cast in this, if Vin Diesel was cast, I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
It would not come as a shock at all. So for my first one, I'm going back into the James Cameron catalog because good old Jim, he loves to go back and work with people again.
he
And I
really
mean,
does. He loves drowning Kate Winslet.
well, this is it. And I mean, it seems like the most obvious choice, which is I want to see Arnie in Avatar.
Oh,
I think, and this is the thing, is I could see Arnie playing it either way. We could see him as the sort of like big head of like the RDA chomping on this giant ass cigar,
right. Oh
in
man.
charge. Give him a mech suit. Why not?
In one of those Edie Falco exoskeletons.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, basically every movie just add an extra higher up, and
Yeah.
eventually it reaches Arnie, who is like the boss of the bosses.
That would be fantastic. And yeah, I definitely would want to see him on the human side, partially because the second you said his name, I was like, do they make mocap suits that are big enough for him? But yeah, I think especially having a familiar face as such a villain, nothing wrong with Stephen Lang, but he wasn't as much of a household name as the Terminator. So it would, yeah, that would be neat.
And I kind of see it that obviously like uh it kind of suggests that like Quaritch might not be the main villain by the end of the franchise. He might
Right.
move sides a little bit. So having like a main actor appear and be like, "Oh no, I'm now the big bad."
Yeah, you thought he was scary. Well, don't worry. I can
Here's a guy
uh,
double his size.
yeah.
So, and obviously, like Arnie and James Cameron's worked together on like the Terminator films and True Lies, just
Mhm.
incredible stuff. I adore it anytime they work together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and they're like, they just their sensibilities work so well together.
Mm. He's one of the directors who just knows how to get the best out of him, and that's a hard job. He's Arnie's a very particular guy who needs a particular role to fit his type of acting. But
Right,
yeah,
yeah, he's very much he was at least a bodybuilder first, and then it's like, you can see the turn when Cameron worked with him to get the actor out of him, and even though, like, people would say, like, "Yeah, but Terminator was such, like, a he's a robot, he's a wooden part," like, especially in T2, he's telling jokes, like, he's really acting, he's performing incredibly well in that, and yeah, I think he might need to go back to Cameron to have, like, a huge career resurgence.
man, it would, and people would die to see it. I think
Mhm.
any chance to see like a Cameron Schwarzenegger reunion.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, what is your next actor?
So the next one kind of came about as I was, uh, going through people, mostly as a pun, but also she's incredibly talented and would be able to jump into any role she could. But Kate Blanchett last played Lydia Tarr, so now she can move on to Avatar.
Oh, you know what? That I love that. I I mean, first of all, obviously Kate Blanchett. fantastic actor,
Absolutely fantastic.
so good, and she's been killing it for years. But she also isn't afraid. She did Thor Ragnarok, so we know she doesn't mind. Doing the blockbuster here and there.
Right. Yeah, she can do the big blockbusters. She's not afraid to get a little silly with it. But at the same time, I can see her being a very serious, grounded character, almost like and I mean, you could kind of say that Sigourney Weaver was this at first, but not really. I could see Kate Blanchett almost being like a Jane Goodall of Pandora, like
Mm.
being specifically like a zoologist who befriends a lot of the native creatures. I think that would be an interesting take to show like a good human, even though there have been a couple.
Yeah, and I think that's something they're going to explore eventually. Is right now there's a very big divide between humans are bad right now, Navi
Yeah,
are good, but we're about to see those lines blur a bit moving forward. I think where we're going to have some bad Navi and we're going to see some good humans.
yeah,
So
bad
having someone,
Ash Navi.
yeah, well, and that's it. So you need like that contrast to have like good humans who are doing the right thing for the environment.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Kate Blanchett could fit that role and like play it in a way that she's soft about it, but it isn't like just a easily warmed over character, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I did actually just remember that she was in the recent Pinocchio film, wasn't she? She
Oh
voiced.
yeah, she was the monkey.
Yeah, exactly. So I
So
was
she
like,
could be any creature.
that's it. Maybe she's doing a bit of a dual role. She can voice the creatures at the same time.
Exactly.
There you go. Look, that's two for one deal there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, I would highly recommend just check out Kate Blanchett's work if you haven't. I mean, I'll be surprised if you haven't already. Come on,
Yeah,
it's
if you haven't, you know her from somewhere.
yeah, you'll have seen something of hers. I mean, she was in Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, she was.
You know what? Mentioning Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna move on to my next actor, who is someone who famed for his mocap, and that's Andy Serkis.
Yeah. I'm shocked he hasn't done it already. Him and Toby Kebbell, like
I
the
was gonna see if I could get a two for one for them two because their work on the Planet of the Apes films is
it,
basically what inspired, I think, the fact that Avatar: The Way of Water is how it is.
yeah, it's out of this world how well they can adapt to becoming CGI creatures. Like both of them, Andy Serkis, of course, being the not the first one to do it, but the first one to really you're the first one who you knew his name. Like he was Gollum. He gave such a killer performance and the animation just helped it out. But like you saw there was a human behind it. It wasn't just like, oh, it's a cartoon, whatever. Like there's really something there. And yeah, it's insane that he hasn't done a single Avatar thing yet.
Yeah, and obviously with all their work kind of being with Weta Workshop as well, and it's been down in New Zealand where where Lord of the Rings was filmed, it's honestly shocking that he hasn't been like drafted in some way. But I remember I spoke about this like back when we were talking about whether there was rumors James Cameron might not direct 4 and 5 for
Mm.
Avatar. As a suggestion, we suggested Andy Serkis as a director to take over, and
I mean,
I think it could work, honestly.
I think it could. Has he his two directorial efforts were what Jungle Book and Venom
Yeah,
two.
the second Venom film.
The CG characters in both of those do look good. The movies themselves are like both hit or miss, but I think it would be interesting to see him work on such a much larger canvas.
Yeah, because he is basically given like the the free reign of the toy box at that point,
Right.
and but it's in a world that he would probably be very familiar with, obviously with it being so heavy on the visual effects, and he'd probably feel quite comfortable moving into that.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
And yeah, so I think mostly I was thinking about his work on Planet of the Apes, but also I gotta say his performance in Andor is probably my favorite performance in a Star Wars anything currently.
I didn't realize he was an Andor. I'm a bad Star Wars fan. I have not
Oh,
watched it yet.
oh man, this is so
I
Andor is like the one Star Wars thing I would recommend people to
I
watch
know.
right
I've
now.
I've heard it's so good, and every time I go to start watching it, I'm like, I yeah, but maybe I should save it, and, like, I keep pushing it off.
You know what? I could even suggest to you if you're like it's because it's like it's a bit slow getting into it. There's
Mhm.
like a free like episode arc which involves um Andy Serkis's character.
Okay.
And that could be like I would even suggest you could watch those 3 episodes by themselves and not even have to watch the rest of the series just to get a flavor of it and then be like, "Oh, I wanna watch it from the start now."
That's good to know. I will actually write that suggestion down.
I mean, I'm probably gonna get told off now. Someone will probably be like, "No, that's wrong. You can't watch Star Wars in a different way."
Right. You can't watch Star Wars in a different way. That's what 90% of the fandom's arguments have been since 2005 or whatever.
I know, yeah. Oh god, I'm just thinking of all the different the machete order and all things like
Oh, man. The the ideal one is the one someone made where it's every movie playing at once,
that.
overlapped on each other.
Yeah, but that's only 6 of the episodes. We need a 9-episode version now.
Oh, they didn't do a new one. Yeah, a 9 episode and Solo and Rogue One.
I think if they could, like, layer on top all the series as well, but, like, have them at the right speed so it all ends at the same time.
Oh, man.
So yeah, who have you got as your 3rd actor?
I'm trying to see where I should go in order for this. Um, another another actor. I'm doing mostly like people who have had modern hits. And this actor actually just directed something that's blowing up in theaters right now, and they're such a presence, and they can do pretty much anything except being a good Fantastic Four movie. But I do think Michael B. Jordan would be a stellar villain Navi character.
You are so right, honestly.
I just his he has presence. Like, I mean, people saw it in the Black Panther movies, but I just his presence as a hero or a villain, there's just such like an air of gravitas and seriousness to him that you're drawn to him every time he moves, every time he blinks. And I just think that if they're doing the Ash Navi, I think him in that setting would just be sensational.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that it's in his body presence, like, and I can just imagine how important that is, especially if he's playing like an RV. That needs to translate so strongly, and not only just in his words, but that whole body language that he gives out.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
honestly, I think that's such a good choice.
and yeah, just I think it would be interesting to see a brawler Navi. Like, we've seen a lot of the Navi fighting with like weapons and knives, but if he's played a boxer, he knows how to fight. If he gets like down and grapples, it would be a different style.
Mm. Yeah, that's it. And I think we are going to have to see that variety a little bit as well, because there is like, I could feel a bit of a concern in the back of my brain of being like, is it going to get repetitive if all the Na'vi are like bows and arrows,
Yeah. Bow and arrow, knife, gun, repeat.
spear, like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I would love to see a bit more variety, not only in sort of weaponry and how they fight, but also the the way they interact with each other, and perhaps as well like their builds, because I can just
Yeah.
imagine him playing like this very like not heavy set, but I mean like a bulkier
Uh,
Navi.
right. Yeah, and I mean the fighting style might change. Isn't Michelle Yeoh in 3?
She is, but she's playing a scientist, so I I have
Oh,
a feeling
darn.
she's not.
Ah, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, I don't think she's. Who knows? I'm not going to rule it out. Honestly,
Yeah, you never know.
you never know. Um, yeah, I'm going to go along the same sort of lines for my next one, which is that it's for a. I imagine this actor for like an underground sort of cavernous Navi tribe. So they're very
Okay.
like bulky guys who like maybe like built equipment for themselves out of like molten stone or something like that. And I'm just
Hmm.
imagining Ron Perlman as a
Oh,
Navi
yeah, that's fun.
because first of all, Ron Perlman, very recognizable face as it is, and
Incredibly
voice.
recognizable face.
Um, and I can just feel it. I feel like he would make such a good Navi, and almost like a little hint towards Hellboy as well, with the fact that him being sort of like this underground based Navi, having like him being like the guy who just walks up and could one punch you.
Right, just a big, bulky guy. He's like he makes armor for the Na'vi, but it doesn't really get shipped out, so that's why we haven't seen them wear it in the movies before this. Oh, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, because I do feel like we need to see that variety and something like along that line where you have a Navi maybe who are just like we're we're secluded. We don't care about you guys. We're not dealing with it.
Right.
We are happy down here. We're doing our thing. Um, deal with it.
I Yeah, I and you have to like see a variety of Navi, but don't just make them like, well, these ones are the stone ones, and that's why instead of blue they are gray, and the fire ones are gonna be red. Like, yeah, actually having a difference in body type because of how they adapted to their surroundings, which the water Navi have already shown us with the different tails.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, and this is especially because like know so little about what's going to happen moving forward.
Right.
People have just gone straight to the assumption that the Ash people will be red, and I don't think that
I
they're
don't
not
think
going
they
to be.
No, I think they'll be a darker blue, if anything.
Yeah, that's it. Or maybe at like, I mean, they're the Ash people, so maybe it's more of a grey blue, if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's not going to be quite as simple as they're different colors,
Right. Yeah.
as some have assumed.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they would be, but again, it could surprise us.
Yeah, you never know. This is the thing. I trust James Cameron and their design team.
Yeah.
So far, they have killed it every step of the way. So far.
Yep.
So yeah, what have you got for your fourth actor?
For my fourth, I do kind of want to see a comedic actor take up a role, like not to be, as we said, the like self-referential, snarky MCU, haha, wink, wink. So, if we're going with, if we're continuing with like the different elements, then I feel like we're gonna meet like snow or ice Navi at some point. And I don't know why this person popped in my head specifically, but Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I think would be an interesting fit for an ice Navi, like someone who is kind of low on the totem pole and is interested in humans and is kind of over. I don't want to say he's like an atheist Navi, but it would be interesting to see if any of them try to seek out other higher powers than Awa.
Yeah, no, I like that. I can see it away. And do you know what I immediately thought of was I'm going back to the Planet of the Apes, is the War for the Planet of the Apes and Bad Ape, who was this sort
Oh
of like
yeah,
it was almost a comedic role in a very, very serious movie, but it
right.
really worked with the
I,
tone.
Sometimes you just need a little bit of relief, and I don't know. I think Rob would be an interesting choice. Like I feel like the second he would be cast, it would people would just be making fun of it the whole time. But I think he really could surprise us.
Yeah, and I think he needs to yeah, like I'd love to see him get given an opportunity like that. I'm not really like familiar with his work outside of Always Sunny, if I'm honest.
He doesn't have too much work outside of, I mean, he
Oh,
had
sorry, he
Mythic.
owns a football club as well. That's
Yeah,
what I know him more for.
he has an Apple TV show called Mythic Quest where he's playing very similar to his Always Sunny character, but he has shown a little bit more like emotional range in that. But at the same time, just Mac like is a incredible character, even though as you watch it, you're just like, huh, he's kind of a stupid guy.
Yeah, so yeah, I would love to see him kind of take on something a little bit more, and it's definitely proven like a good move for like comedic actors before who have like been like, okay, I'm going to take on like a big role, maybe a little bit more serious for myself.
Right, not exactly a full-on drama, prestige, awards bait guy, but dip my toe into, like, just a little less goofy.
Yeah, I think, and you know what? It makes me think of like where Jonah Hill did his like kind of turn, going from like a comedic actor and was doing things like Moneyball.
Yeah, like Moneyball and Wolf of Wall Street, which are like comedic roles, but not in a comedic surrounding.
Yeah, they're like played serious, but it's just the the situations are funny more than
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, no, I could see it, and again, I think we're gonna see some sort of snowy, Antarctic base
that
Navi. It
yeah.
feels written in the stars at this point.
When my roommate and I left Avatar: The Way of Water the first time, we were just listing off the elements that we want to see people do with them.
I mean, look, I get that the other Avatar fandom are annoyed that
Right.
that Jim's just going through the elements, but guess
But
what? You guys don't own the elements.
and then just go past the 4 that are in that. Start going into, like, Pokemon types and, like, do ice, do poison, do sand, do whatever.
Man, bring me a ghost Navi. There we go.
Oh, man. Well, that that just gets really deep into the weeds of Awa or whatever.
I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, we're kind of already there. I think with Ghost Navi, we're not far off.
Well, yeah, Ghost Navi, resurrected Navi, Kiri is Jesus, question mark? I
Yeah,
still there's still a lot to unpack there.
yeah, yeah. Definitely is. So for my fourth one, I've gone for an actor, and she's definitely more known for her like stunt work, and that's Zoe Bell,
Oh, okay.
who most know for her being the stunt actress for Uma Thurman for the Kill Bill films.
Okay, cool.
And now my thought process behind this is that I love I love the role of the Tolkien hunter, the guy who gets his arm chopped off.
Right.
Um, and I want to give him like I want to give him like a character to work with. And I
Give him a
feel
badass sidekick.
yeah, yeah. And she's done a bit of work as an actress and she kills it when I've seen her in it. And I think she would work as like a really good like opposite against him. He's very like brash and you know, she can meet him with that.
So it becomes a little trio of him, Jermaine Clement, weirdly not using his native accent, and Zoe Bell as like brash, calm, and just calculating.
Yeah. And I
I like that.
I
I actually
also
really like that.
I also like the idea of that if you just keep surrounding more people more people around Jermaine, that eventually his accent would just come through. And we could
Right.
just pretend he didn't not do it in that one.
Every time he opened his mouth, I was taken aback, just like, why do you sound like that?
I know, like, but this is the thing, he's, like, very well known for his accent, so
Yeah,
I
that's
was
the weird thing.
and also the fact that he's working with, like, like, the most Australian man in the world just next to him. So I don't know if they just did it because they were like, "Oh, people are gonna get this way too confused."
Yeah, they're gonna think that only that region of the world went to Pandora.
Yeah, man, there was just a shuttle just from, Australia, and, like, they just sent, like, a whole crew over.
Just to get the anti-aging immortality brainstem
Man,
juice.
look, okay, so I wanna ask you, this is gonna come back, right? This has
It
gotta
it
come back in a
has to.
sequel.
They introduced it so quickly and then never talked about it again, and I was turning to my roommate in the theater going, "What? What? No, wait, go back. It makes you immortal?
I know, they just, like, breeze over it, and it's like, "No, that is, like, a really big plot point, guys.
That's
This is"
huge."
like, obviously, we spend a bit of time on unobtainium in the first one, but this seems more
Yeah,
important.
yeah, Unobtainium was like, I don't know, it's a rock, it can do fuel, and, like, so many sci-fi things are like, what if there was perfect fuel? The Avengers did it, they did it, like, it's just a thing. But this is an animal gives us immortality.
Yeah.
Maybe.
God, like, please, it's gotta be addressed. I need more.
It I would watch an entire, like, Avatar 2.5 just having a scientist explaining that to me for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, That sounds incredible. I want it.
Disney Plus, they need content.
There we go. That's it. There's your Disney Plus 9-hour series.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Who is your final pick for an actor?
Okay, I have a few to choose from. One of them is an actor who is currently in the Avatar franchise but doing something different, and one is someone outside coming in.
Oh, you know what? Let's hear the one who's already in the franchise.
Okay. And this is something that I've thought about since the first Avatar in the many years in between of like, what are they going to do in the sequel? I want to see a human Zoe Saldana. I want them to somehow figure out how to do reverse Avatar and have human Neytiri and see how she reacts to that. Like
Man,
I just think that would be weird and fascinating and just like I want to see how that works.
frankly, the thought of that is terrified. Like within the context of the world of Avatar,
Oh yeah.
like it's weird enough they do it anyway, like putting
Right.
human brain into a Na'vi body, but doing it the other way feels somehow worse.
I yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying it would be good and ethical, but I think it would make for interesting movie watching.
Mm. And also, look, I'm never going to argue with having more Zoe Saldana in the film
Right.
because she's fantastic in literally anything she works in. Or like she just kills it every blockbuster ever. And God, I think it would be so interesting to see like that character's reaction to being in that body.
Yeah, to being in that body, to being on Earth, to how humans treat other humans. Like I just yeah, it would be such an interesting study and it would be weird, no doubt, and like probably really polarizing, but I would like to see that.
No, I honestly, I do wonder if they will ever try and do that in the franchise because it feels like something they could easily try and explore.
I feel like if they did, it would be the last one. Like
Yeah,
it's one of those like once you hit it, how much further can you go with any of this?
yeah, and also I think it works within the world as well because is there a possibility they're going to like offer up to Quaritch, for example, to be like, "Hey, look, we'll give you a human body back, maybe
Yeah,
if you do this for us. Like, we can just clone people now."
you and
Uh,
Spider can be a human family again.
yeah. So I kind of like this sort of idea that maybe yeah, that's his incentive to keep working for them.
That'd be really interesting.
Mm.
Imagine James Cameron hears this and is like, "Damn it, they figured it out."
Scrap it, guys. We're
Yeah,
we're moving
starting
on.
over. 12 more years of waiting.
Oh, hate to think that I keep causing more delays. So I'm gonna go for my final pick, which is for someone who was actually rumored to, who was meant to be in Avatar: The Way of Water, but he declined because he didn't want to be a human character. He wanted to be a Na'vi, and that's Edward Norton.
Oh, really? I did not
Yeah,
hear that.
yeah. So I was doing some reading up because I was really curious if there was any details on, if there was rumors on who was cast for the movie and didn't get it. And his name was the name that I saw pop up a couple times. And he ended up working with Cameron because he did Alita Battle Angel.
Right.
And so they did get to work together a little bit, even though Cameron was just a producer and Norton was in that film
And
for
Norton
two
was there for
seconds.
2 seconds, which oh man, that movie rules, and then it ended and I went, "That killed it." Like, I was so hyped and having such a good time, and then such an obvious sequel tease kinda broke my heart with it.
And it's the tease that always gets you, and
I
it's more painful the fact that we haven't even had a hint that we're going to get anything else.
right, just to if that had a good ending, I would've, like, shouted from the rooftops, like, "That's the best thing I've seen all year," and then I was like, "Oh, it's so cool," but then it stops.
Oh, painful.
But yeah, Edward Norton's great. Sorry to go on that
No,
quick
no.
tangent.
I honestly, I love him as an actor. I love his range, and
Mhm.
I'm going off the fact that he wants to be a Na'vi. But what I want to do is, I want to. We know we're probably going to see Earth explored in some way, and I
Right.
want him to be like the basically Earth's first introduction to a Na'vi. Like they have like he almost becomes like Earth's mascot as a Na'vi,
Okay. Like
who
a Navi who's just been chilling on Earth too long and is, like, too pampered.
basically, yeah, I'm sort of thinking along that line. And because obviously, if some of our main characters travel to Earth, he could be like their sort of first meeting point of like, hey, look, I'm the first Navi who ever, or like Navi avatar who's lived here. Look at what a wonderful life I've had. And yeah, he's kind of a bit, basically, he's just turned into a bit lazy. He's
Yeah.
enjoying the human luxuries too much.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. There's just so much you can do with this franchise.
Honestly, like I love the fact that I don't have a clue which direction they're going to take it in, and I really can't wait to be surprised constantly.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it. Like, that's why these things have become so appealing, even with the huge gap in between.
Yeah, and I think as well that it for us, like I don't know about you, but I did actually have a bit of trouble doing these castings because I felt like you had to find a very particular type of actors to join this sort of world and still make it feel authentic to it.
Yeah, not just like tossing in, oh, who's the big name right now? Like, oh, Florence Pugh's and everything. She'd do fine, I guess. Like, you really have to sit back and think who can blend into the world.
Yeah, totally. I think it's a tougher job than I expected, and honestly, it kind of proves how good the casting is so far for the series
Y-
because no
yeah,
one feels out of place.
they really don't, which is fantastic.
So as we've done all five of ours, is there any like like smaller names that you just want to throw out just as we wrap up?
Um, I think Winona Ryder would be a good human in it. I just like seeing her and stuff. She's great. And
Always great.
and my last one was kind of a joke going off of the past two movies. Give Sigourney Weaver give Sigourney Weaver another character. This time she's a baby.
Yeah, why not? Let's
Just
just give Sigourney
each
Weaver
time.
more money each time. Does she like collect a check for each character?
I hope so because she really earned it with Way of Water.
Man, yeah, she did, and I love that. Yeah, that would be quite good. A couple other names I had l- when you mentioned Michael B. Jordan, I also had Jonathan Majors down because I
uh,
just love all the work he's doing right now, and I think he has
he's
such a great presence.
he's fantastic. Yeah, he's got the presence down. He's popping up in everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I had Daniel Kaluuya because I think he just plays such a good villain in Widows that I
Oh
just want
yeah,
to see him play like a villainous Navi. I think it'd just be great.
that'd be a lot of fun.
And I got one other, which was Naomi Harris, who been in the likes of the James Bond franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah,
And it's mostly just because I think in in the Pirates of the Caribbean, she has such a good vibe, which I constantly go back to her like portrayal of Calypso, and I think it's so good.
and that would like not Calypso exactly, but like that vibe of character would fit really well.
Mm. Yeah, like I could see that character almost like you could insert a character like that into the world of Avatar quite seamlessly almost.
Pretty much.
And I do have one final joke one, which is that let's put the Muppets in Avatar. Let's have a
Oh my
Muppets
god.
Avatar version. Why not? Because but my stipulation is that um, they have to be humans, and when they're going into the avatars, they turn into a Muppet.
Okay, that's it. See, the Muppets are lifelong, like one of my favorite things. So now I'm just trying to connect each character to what Muppet they would
I
be.
mean, I want to do an episode at some point where I fan cut where I do a Muppet version of Avatar.
I'd
So
be
maybe that's for
fast.
another episode.
Yeah, maybe. All I can say the first thing to think of Quaritch would be Sam Eagle.
Oh, absolutely. That fits so well.
That wow.
I'm imagining where he does where you first meet him and he's like in front of the window that looks like the American flag.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, you are not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
Hell yeah. Okay. I'm gonna keep that one in the brain and we'll come back to that in the future. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun.
This was
Uh,
a blast. Thank you for having me.
yeah, and also I'd like to say to anyone who has listened, please throw all your fan casting suggestions our way. I want to basically hear them all so I can critique them all and tell you why you're all wrong. So yeah, where can people find you?
So you can find me on No Highway Option, the movie podcast where we compare every movie to Vin Diesel's The Pacifier and say if it's better or worse. We'll be doing new episodes of that coming out in May. And our socials are at No Highway Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. And yeah, thank you for everyone for listening. I hope you had a lovely time with this one and speak to you all again soon. Goodbye. Thank you for listening. This week's episode is dedicated to our patrons Eric Scrock and Patrick Regal. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/avatarpod.